Today on the HawksZone Rundown, we have an exciting guest. We had him on last year, and we are days away from the draft. CBS Sports analyst and owner of the Football Gameplan joins us to talk draft and especially diving into a lot of needs that Seattle needs and what some of these fits could be for the Seahawks. But we're going to get a whole draft perspective, what Emory thinks this draft's all about. Are there a lot of starters in this draft? Or is it a depth draft? How does he look at this draft? And then leading into that, we're going to get into questions like, hey, who should they take at 18? If you're John Schneider, what do you think he'll do? Some of your draft crushes. And then we're going to get into some rapid fire question, lightning round style with Emory. That's going to be a lot of fun. So Emory Hunt on the other side, guys. If you haven't done it yet, go down, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. All that helps support the channel. You can also go down and you can buy us a coffee as well. So on the other side, Emory Hunt.
So y'all can sit here and ask me all the questions y'all want to.
Don't you ever talk about
Man, let's go. It's go time, baby.
I'm just about that action, boss.
You ready to go get it. You just like to do it.
That's what it is.
Defense trying to do that. Pass is caught back in. Can't chase it. What a catch! Jackson Smith and Are you kidding me? Baldwin. Oh my goodness, he caught it.
This is the HawksZone Rundown with your hosts, Ryan and Bryce.
Guys, Emory Hunt, CBS Sports analyst and the owner of the Football Gameplan Playbook, joins us once again on the show days before the draft to get his insights on the draft overall and a bit of a Seahawks perspective. We're picking at 18. Emory, we appreciate you joining us. We know your schedule is crazy busy, but we appreciate you coming on and talking draft.
Always appreciate jumping on the show, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Emory. So I got a question for you, and I'll bring this up right off the bat. What type of draft is this? We've heard so many things. It's a bad draft class. There's not as many elite level prospects in it. Like, from your perspective, if you're going into this draft as a GM, what are you looking to obtain out of this? Are you looking to obtain starter level players, depth players? Like, where's the vibe of this draft?
All those, because as someone that goes deep into the draft, again, this year's draft guide has over 1,200 individual scouting reports. So every draft is a good draft for me, because if you go deep enough, you're going to find good players. And that's the mark of every draft, because if we are all watching college football, we understand that every class has a bevy of talent. Like, yes, some people may only focus on wanting to scrape off the top and who's the easier identifiable guys that we can all talk about. And once they run out of talking about the same 9 guys, they feel like this draft is tapped out. But if you expand the draft conversation, you realize that there's thousands of guys you can talk about. And especially at all positions, and you can see the good in a lot of positions. So if I was a GM, I'm going in thinking that we can get starters, we can get great guys in reserve that we can develop, and also get some developmental pieces that we can kind of stash away and work through those guys that probably have a little bit more room to grow in terms of weight or technique. We can coach those guys up on the side. But every draft class to me is a good draft class. Yes, some positions may be a little bit more star power heavy in certain years as opposed to others, but talent, man, is always talent.
Yeah, speaking of of a Seahawks perspective, we got the 18th overall pick. A lot of fans, are banging on the table. Well, you got to just automatically take an O-line. But how do you look at 18 for the Seahawks, and where do you think John Schneider is going to go with that pick? And what would you do at 18 with Seattle's pick?
You have to kind of weigh where you have guys draft grade in terms of where you have certain guys graded, because some people may want them to go interior offensive line. Cool. Some people may want them to go wide receiver. Cool. So let's say if I want Luther Burden and I also kind of want, throw a name out there, Gray Zabel, that I've seen people talk about. So if my grade on Burden and Zabel are, let's say, similar, but then I look past Zabel and the next grade for the interior lineman is, 5 notches below, and the next grade from Burden to the next receiver is slightly, I may say, okay, well, let me grab Zabel because our next guy, if we can get this second guy as a receiver as opposed to getting Burden, the drop off between the next guy at Zabel is going to be crazy. So let's just take him now, and then we'll get the second best guy there. So it all depends. But for me, I look at the guy you brought in Sam Darnold. We know interior pressure is something that he doesn't deal very well with. So you got to make sure he's rock solid up front. But this also ties into the point about, you know, we in the media have to do a better job of zooming out and expanding the conversation for the fans and viewers, because you drafted guys last year. How about we let those guys play and see if this it could be an answer right there. Haynes could be your answer that you're looking for, as opposed to saying go and draft another guy. Now you push Haynes back another year. When is he going to get on the field, right? So because everyone focuses on the first round, even though we know the draft is 7 rounds plus undrafted free agents. Sundell out of North Dakota State was my 11th ranked center last year. We don't even know he could play because he hadn't got on the field. So I would probably lean a little bit more so Burden than interior offensive line, because as a GM, I'm thinking, okay, we got some guys that we want to see play that we drafted last year that have been in our program for a season. Let's go get one of the bona fide studs that can help him out and give our guys a chance, and we can still get some more depth along the offensive line and find the right mesh. And if certain guys that are frontline starters can stay healthy, we look a lot better going into the season, as opposed to drafting a rookie who may or may not struggle.
So, Emory, with like kind of a Seahawks draft blueprint for you, you kind of alluded to receiver and O-line there, and kind of what, Seahawks fans may think. What do you think about the defensive side? Because we know there's some really good defensive line talent here. It's kind of like a area for the Seahawks where they do have talent there. They obviously took Byron Murphy last year. They've got Leonard Williams coming back off a good year. But there's some pieces there where maybe if someone like a Kenneth Grant or one of these other defensive players falls into that range, do you think that player will maybe take over instead of them looking at O-line and receiver? Or do you think they're really focused on either O-line or a receiver at that pick 18?
No, I use O-line and receiver as examples. You could, whatever positions you feel like they need, you rank that across the board. I think everybody calls it a vertical board or whatnot. Okay, where's our next guy, right? And where's the drop off? Because if you are looking at Kenneth, do you want Kenneth Grant? You want someone like that, or do you rather someone like Tyleik Williams of Ohio State, who has nose tackle body but 3 tech skills? You know what I'm saying? Is that the kind of guy you want? Do you want, maybe we don't need that type of guy. Maybe we go back in the later rounds, maybe on day 2, and get a Tyler Beatty out of BYU, who can kind of be that inside, kind of like a Leonard Williams type, where he can play the 5 technique or something like that. Do we go that route, or do we take the immediate threat at receiver, or do we go interior offensive line? And that's where the GMing and consulting with the scouts and also the coaching staff, because we can't let the coaching staff off the hook. Like, hey, we've drafted these 2 guys. Where are we on these 2 guys playing? In terms of, Haynes and the undrafted free agent Sundell, like where are we on these 2 guys? Are these 2 guys closer to being ready to go? Can we bypass that position on day 1 or early day 2 and maybe come back to it on day, in the 3rd round? That's where the whole collaborative conversation has to come. Scouts gave us the info, the intel, the grade. Coaches got to give us what they're going to be working with and what they have worked with, over the season. And as a GM, okay, I'm taking all this info and I'll make the decision.
Yeah. Speaking of, getting guys in the later rounds, who are possibly some of your under the radar prospects that you see that could be a good fit for Seattle later on in this draft?
I like Carlin Vigors out of UL Monroe. Long corner, had a really good Hula Bowl. He's about 6'1", maybe a little bit over 6'1", 190, 4.4, 4.5 speed, good ball skills, good instincts. Go watch his game against Texas, and we know the receivers Texas had a really good game there. I thought he was, excellent. If you think about, interior offensive line, that's the thing. AJ Gilly, University of Louisiana, fantastic guard. And it's fascinating when you think about the pedigree of the program. Max Mitchell, Osiris Torrance, before he transferred, Kevin Dotson. You also look at Robert Hunt. Like, we know how to do offensive line talent at University of Louisiana. So that's one player that you can also keep an eye on. If we're talking about safety, I kind of like the move piece type safeties, the combo guys. Gabe Taylor out of Rice, Sean Taylor's brother, and fantastic player. Like, he's shorter than Sean Taylor. He's not 6'2", 230. Well, he's about 5'9", 185, 190, but he can move, he can tackle, he can hit, he could kind of be that nickel guy, has great ball skills. Like, every time I look up, the ball is in his hands. So I'm surprised no one's talking about him based on the story alone, but also based on the football side of things. Gabe Taylor is an outstanding player.
Who are so Emory, I know last year when we talked to you at this time, we were talking about quarterbacks, and obviously Seattle signed Sam Darnold, but if Seattle were to potentially look at taking a swing at that position in this draft class, who are some guys maybe from like round 4 down to round 7 that you think are guys that potentially could be someone that fits in this new, obviously Clint Kubiak scheme? A guy that I've looked at is Brady Cook from Missouri. Like, I really like his tape. Who are some guys for you that you kind of think in that area that maybe Seattle might take a swing at potentially?
Yeah, Cook is my QB4, and I've been high on Cook since last season, and this is someone battle tested, tough, reminded me a lot of Andy Dalton when he was coming out of TCU. Just real life moxie. I mean, he gets carted out the Auburn game, comes back in, and then helps lead them down to a victory. Had the best combine, in my opinion, the throwing session, tested well athletically, someone you don't want to count out. I also like Zach Zabrowski. The last name sounds familiar. His dad is the OC at Kansas, but this dude won the Harlan Hill Trophy twice. That's the Division II equivalent of the Heisman Trophy. So imagine winning that twice, and people just not talking enough about you. You have really good ability. And listen, we got a good gauge on this guy back in May because they play their All-Star game at the U Sports East-West Bowl up in Canada. Taylor Algersma, saw him up in Canada in May, and was glad that he got the call up to the College Gridiron Showcase where he started there. Fascinating story about him there was receivers are doing routes on air, right? And so it was him and it was 2 other quarterbacks, and receivers are running curl routes. And as they come back, turn around, you hit a ball, they catching the ball, whatnot. When it was Algersma going up there, and as a receiver coming out of the break, before you turn around, literally the ball is on their face, and you hear a bop, and you hear scouts across the field like, damn. Like, and Elgersma was throwing the ball like his life depended on it. And then he gets to call up to the Tropical Bowl the next week. He goes down there in Orlando, and the first rep of his practice, it was a team period. He goes in, deep shot. I mean, he hit this receiver from Delaware Valley in stride. Like, it was a tight window deep throw, but he hit him perfectly. He balls out that week, and then we saw he got the call up to the Senior Bowl and held his own there. I want to say one of his first passes was a deep shot in the Senior Bowl. So he was playing with house money, but that's the type of guy you take a chance on on day 3.
Hey, speaking of past drafts, Bryce brought up Sam Darnold and being a former first-round pick. Where did you have Sam Darnold in your draft board back in that draft? And are you still high on him? Obviously, he had coming off a good year in Minnesota, but people can look at that and say, well, he had everything going for him and best receiver in the league and all this kind of stuff. Where did you have Sam ranked? And are you still high on him in coming over to this situation with the Seahawks?
Going back to 2018, Lamar Jackson was my QB1, and my QB2 in that class was Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold I had compared to Tony Romo, and that was my comp for Sam Darnold. Having covered the Jets out here in New York City, I'm at the, as you're at the games and practices, you see, this was his whole issue in New York, outside of the turnovers, which are obviously bad, right? But is the fact that once he started to string together good games, he gets hurt. Now you got to hit reset, start the process all over again, get hurt again, hit reset. So he never really got good footing. Then he goes to Carolina. It was like him and Baker Mayfield is like, we're the land of misfit toys. Like, we're both here, former first in the same draft class. Like, no one gets, and he had a great game against the Saints, and then just kind of lost track. I thought last year was his best season, obviously, but best in terms of one, staying healthy, two, being able to work through any adversity. So we saw him play constantly, week after week after week after week. I know he had a stint in San Francisco as well before he came to Minnesota, but being able to just to go out there, knowing you're the starter, not having to look over your shoulder if you throw an incomplete pass and think like, oh man, they're gonna take me out, but being able to play consistently, and we saw him build the confidence and he started to look like the prospect that he was at USC. So I'm excited for him. I'm rooting for him. I do think he can consistently build on that because we saw you're only as good as your last game, and we all saw what that last game looked like for him. I'm pretty sure he can't wait to get out there and play football. So I think we'll see good Sam Darnold enough to where he can continue to play winning football for Seattle.
So I got another question just about the draft here, Emory. What if for you, can you rank maybe the top 4 deepest position groups in this class where you can get good, solid talent later on in the draft that you're not having to press in day 1 or maybe even high day 2 for it? Like for you, where is the deepest groups in this draft class?
I would say obviously it's running back based on how many. This is kind of like the 2017 class where you have so many good backs that can come out here and play really well. Then I would also say off-ball linebacker, very underrated group of guys that can go run and chase and make plays, and guys that can rush the quarterback, good blitzers in this class in terms of the linebacker position. And I would also say by nature of what we're seeing in college football, receivers and defensive backs, because you see so more 3, 4, 5 wide receiver sets by nature, those guys are getting time on task and they're coming in very polished as route runners and very polished in the passing game and seeing coverages. And on the flip side, those guys are getting a lot of time on task, seeing a lot of routes to run at them, seeing a lot of offensive schemes. So they're more apt to be able to be versatile. That's why we're seeing more combo safeties than we've ever seen before that can go out there, play free or strong, or even dip down and be a good solid slot defender as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Emory, we appreciate you coming on. A few more minutes with you here. We want to do something, just kind of a rapid fire lightning round with you, throwing out a couple of things at you and quick answers and moving forward. So I'll start it off for you, man. Best lineman for Seattle at 18.
Lineman, offensive defense?
Either side of the ball. Yeah.
Wow, good question. I would probably lean more toward Tyleik Williams. Big fan of him.
Nice.
Okay. Here you go, Emory. Day 3 gem for Seattle's defense.
Arnold Young, Montclair State. I tell you, no lie. When you watch how this dude plays against his level of competition, it was legitimately unfair. So funny. I'll give you another one. Micah Kressinger out of Saginaw Valley State. It's fascinating how many touchdowns he has, and he plays linebacker. So it's crazy how many pick sixes he has playing inside linebacker. So those are 2 guys I think will fit perfectly. Arnold Young's tape is just, it doesn't make sense, man. But that's how you want that tape to look coming from a Division III program.
All right. Yes or no, does Seattle take a QB in this draft?
Yes, you always take one on day 3, and I think that's where people are picking them to take one early. Now, I think day 3 is where you see them draft one just to get inside camp and get them inside the building.
Okay, and the final Seahawk related one, prospect most likely to be a Seahawk, Emory.
Luther Burden. And I say that because he fits the MO. He's tough, he's physical, he's versatile. So he can play all 3 receiver spots. I think he's someone that you kind of like in the bill. I'm surprised that he has the fanfare hasn't been what it was coming into the season, but I think he is the ideal Seahawk.
Okay, and I got one more for you here, Emory. Biggest surprise on the NFL draft this year, prospect wise.
Biggest surprise, in terms of what?
As in terms of what do you think will be the biggest surprise? What team will kind of shock us in something that they do?
I would be surprised if 3 running backs do not go in round 1. There are 4 teams that need backs that are clearly identifiable. Whether it's Raiders, the Bears could use a back. They've been rumored to have one back. Dallas obviously needs a pace setter, and the Broncos. So, and there's 3 guys that have first round type talent: Genty, Hampton, and Henderson. I'd be shocked if those three are not in the first round.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, it is loaded this year at running back. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Emory, we appreciate you joining us again, just days before the draft here. We know you're super busy. But before we get you out of here, why don't you let everybody know that watches our channel what you got going on and where everybody can find your stuff.
Get that draft guide, man. Over 1,200 individual scouting reports. This year is our largest one yet. It's the largest one in existence. We broke our own record. It's always going to be the largest one because we dive into more prospects. This year, we added over 50 CFL draft prospects. So there's a bunch of guys that we know will end up in training camp that are CFL prospects that will end up in these NFL camps. You can go to footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. And anyone that has purchased our draft guide from 2020 to now, right now, you have over 5,400 individual scouting reports at your fingertips. So that's a lot of intel. You kind of know what's going on around the league, other leagues, kind of makes you a well-rounded fan and also a well-rounded viewer of the game. And you can catch me on CBS Sports HQ for draft coverage on days 2 and 3 for sure, and post-draft recap. Follow me on Twitter at FBallGamePlan.
Awesome stuff, guys. Everything going to be posted down in the description. So yeah, go get the playbook. Emory, we appreciate it again. And yeah, exciting time of the year. We appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again in the future here.
Appreciate you guys for having me on. Great show always.
Appreciate it, Emory. Thanks, Emory. Guys, that was Emory Hunt, CBS Sports analyst and Football Game Plan playbook. Go check that out. Links in the description. Awesome having Emory on, especially this close to the draft when everything is just kind of, been laid out on the table. Now you bring in Emory and he just kind of gives you that more deeper insight, dissects it for you. And just awesome to have his analysis today, man.
Honestly, the biggest thing for me that I love about having Emory on is he always gives us names of people that you've never heard of,
right?
But you can always bank on that Emory's done his research on them and these guys can play. And so like when he's talking, like I'm going to have to go back and watch some of this Vickers because I totally have never seen him, haven't been focusing on him. But when he talks about like, hey, you should look at his tape versus Texas, he's right. Texas had Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, and a good receiving core. If he had a good day and Emory's talking about him, he's definitely someone that, potentially the Seahawks should be looking at, maybe in the later rounds, like you said. That's the thing I always love. Emory comes on here. He doesn't give us the same thing that you hear all the other national media people talking about. He always gives us solid intel. Last year, he gave us great stuff. It'll be interesting to see if any of the guys that he mentioned today get picked by the Seahawks.
Yeah, and even talking about Sean Taylor's brother there and, just the story alone, he's just like, so he brings up different guys. I mean, but, you expect that from a guy with the amount of insight and research that he does. He's down there. He's everywhere. And that's why he can create this playbook that gives you this amount of coverage, amount of insight.
No, exactly. And that's one thing, like for me, like I've purchased it the last 2 years now. It's where I get a lot of my intel from. So when I'm digging up, going through fits for us and players, Emory's the source that I use because he's right. He puts so much effort with his group of guys and members into that game plan that he puts out for the draft guide that, and I will have it on hand for us when we're doing our draft parties next week. So that way, when we pick a guy, I can pull up and see what they've actually said about this individual.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, so again, guys, go get the playbook, link in the description. Also, like Emory said, you can find him on CBS HQ, day 2 and 3. He's on there for a reason. So yeah, awesome again. Awesome show, guys. If you haven't done it yet, go down and sub to our channel as well. We're also part of the Field Goals team, fieldgoals.com. You can check it out. Our podcasts are on there after every episode here, and also some great content by a lot of great writers here. So you're going to get an awesome, a bunch of awesome perspectives on the Seahawks. Go check it out. Also, guys, remember the membership program. Go down there. Some cool perks. So lots of stuff going on. Drafts coming quick, guys. The draft party, it's going to be great. Make sure you guys tune in for that. And then it doesn't stop for us because we got a bunch of guests coming on after that, leading up after the draft. It's going to be a lot of great guests. You guys aren't going to miss it. So again, hit the notification button so you know when stuff's coming on. So yeah, Bryce, any final words before we get out of here?
Honestly, man, I cannot wait. The draft is so
Yeah.
close. I'm so excited for it. Monday live will be the final mock draft Monday. I'll have Michael Thompson joining me that night. We're going to do 2 mock drafts. That'll be the focus of the show. But the point of it, we're going to try and make these as on point with what we think Seattle will do come draft night. And those will be our final mock drafts leading up to the draft. And then, guys, don't forget to check out. We'll still have more of our top fits for the Seahawks. We'll have 2 of those releasing on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, getting you ready for that Thursday night live draft party. So make sure to check those out as well.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, it's exciting. Great show with Emory. Yeah, it's exciting, man. Just this can really change the outlook of your team coming into the next season. So it's exciting stuff. So that's it for us. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.